Day 1, life is war, so use weapons available to you. Know this truth, my fellow seeker, that nature has bestowed upon us the keys to excellence. It's incumbent upon us to identify and harness these gifts, for without them, our journey is aimless. For the weapons of our warfare are not carnal, but mighty through God to the pulling down of strongholds. In delving into the wisdom that follows, let us transcend the debates surrounding the authenticity of scriptures and the convolution of ancient texts. Whether Mesopotamian narratives morphed into the tales of Yahweh matters not. Explore the depths of Inanna, an ancient Mesopotamian goddess worshipped in Sumer, an early known civilization in the historical region of southern Mesopotamia, as the Queen of Heaven, a goddess who embodied love, beauty, war, and fertility, who was also associated with sex, beauty, divine laws, and political power, and later became known as Ishtar by the Akkadians, Babylonians, and Assyrians. Draw connections between the Epic of Gilgamesh and the Book of Genesis, recognizing that the essence lies in human stories and our lost history. Amidst the scholarly debates and theological musings, consider this. Have you ever considered the vacuity and pointlessness of this debate, and how it does not put food on the table, regardless of how justifying and self-fulfilling the concerns may be? Navigate the vast landscapes of ancient civilizations, where stories and practices intertwine like the tales of Hindus and Mayans, or the shared deities and similar religious practices of Egypt and Mesopotamia, as they worship the gods of the sun, earth, water, and sky. The scriptures, a compilation from diverse sources, offer a mosaic of intentions, good, though sometimes misconstrued. Let us acknowledge the challenges faced by transcribers and translators, grappling with narratives transmitted over centuries without the foresight to anticipate future scrutiny. In an era marked by the Renaissance and the Protestant Reformation, scriptures became both a beacon of enlightenment and a tool of suppression. Yet, let us not cast stones at those who endeavored to preserve knowledge, for they operated without the luxuries of hindsight or centralized oversight. Gratitude is due for the preservation of wisdom even as libraries burned and manuscripts drowned in rivers. Let's appreciate the books we have now. We are lucky to have any cognitive copy to read at all. Journey through the annals of history, where conquerors like Temujin, the Mongolian warrior ruler, popularly known as Genghis Khan, did his fair share of burning libraries in his conquests across Asia to the Adriatic Sea. And Hulagu Khan, who threw so many books accumulated over hundreds of years into the Tigris River that they formed a bridge that would carry a man on horseback, reshaping the fate of libraries. Reflect on the bridge of knowledge formed by books in the Tigris River. Cherish the books, for they survived the onslaughts of ignorance. Get what you will out of them, be grateful, and use the information to maximize your understanding. Indeed, they are the most common and affordable materials you can easily access, translated into all languages known to man. Embrace parables, quotations, and passages as you would the fables of Aesop, a slave and storyteller who lived in ancient Greece between 620 and 564 BCE. Challenge preconceptions that lead to the rejection of positive sources, especially the scriptures. Acknowledge the exploitation by some who claim divine knowledge, but do not let their actions tarnish the potential lessons hidden within sacred texts. As an ordained clergyman, I find these behaviors by some of our peers worrying. Ask any so-called man or woman of God if he or she understands or knows the origin of the plural noun gods. Recognize linguistic shifts or cognitive genealogy that altered the plural gods to the singular God, and Elohim, a plural in the original text. Somewhere along our historical timeline, the letter S was deleted from the original manuscripts, replacing gods with God. A decision made during biblical compilation to establish monotheism. These changes date back to Akhenaten's reign as pharaoh during 1353 to 1336 BC or 1351 to 1334 BC. The 18th dynasty of Egypt abandoned Egypt's traditional polytheism to introduce Atonism, or worship centered on Aten willfully. Ultimately, these alterations have led to many atrocities committed by individuals and warlords in the historic annals of the Bible, to be attributed to the eternal God. However, such acts and deeds are certainly not reflective of the God of all flesh in whom we all dwell and have our being. Remember, this work is not a treatise on heaven and hell, a lake of fire, or the afterlife. It is not intended to fuel debate. Instead, it is about unlocking your highest potential. While this book, Hidden, is not asking you to pray in the name of Yahweh or Adonai, it also gives no credence to whether he is an ET or not. However, in my quest to make my work much easier to achieve my purpose of detoxing your self-limitation and mental block, I dive into the rich tapestry of scriptures, extracting allegories and parables to propel you forward. Does that work for you? I have abundantly stated that my source materials are from many ancient texts. Nevertheless, predominantly I have used passages and quotations from the scriptures to build content, carefully selected to illustrate my point as far as it can get. Should that matter, especially when the goal is to kickstart and unclog the negative mental emotions that have caused your stagnation and hence your predicaments? Extract substance from the shadows and discern the eternal truths that resonate with your journey. For in the words of Cicero, read at every weight, read at all hours, read within leisure, read in times of labor, read as one goes in, read as one goeth out. The task of the educated mind is simply put, read to lead. Of course, after the reading, you take action. As you progress, shed the mental baggage that hinders your growth. Challenge the status quo, and question the versions presented. Who checks the checkers? Who determines what version should be used or not? It's a call to extract the substance and leave the shadow behind. Your survival is paramount. Don't let your ethical presuppositions and questionable religious beliefs and practices hold you captive and helpless. Acknowledge the power of positive thoughts, actions, and speech as your weapons in life's battleground. Recognize the eternal God within, dwelling in all of us. Whether you accept this or not, the scriptures offer fables and axiomatic wisdom, akin to the timeless teachings of Aesop. Grab the substance, leave the shadow. Consider the possibility of wrong translations, much like a beautifully written fiction inspiring real-world success. Again, I say, your survival is paramount. Don't let your ethical presuppositions and questionable religious beliefs and practices hold you captive and helpless. As the chapter unfolds, embrace the power of affirmations and dive into the self-restoration program. Recognize the importance of visualization, heartfelt desires, and aligned affirmations. Challenge the limitations imposed by self-doubt, and unlock the reservoir of hidden treasures within. Your success depends on their quality, so take them seriously. The journey has just begun, and the promise of transformation looms on the horizon. You are on the war front of life, armed with positive thoughts, actions, and speech. Your success story is waiting to be written, and the scriptures are but one reservoir of wisdom guiding you on this transformative path. We account the scriptures of God to be the most sublime philosophy. I find more sure marks of authenticity in the Bible than in any profane history whatsoever. Isaac Newton. The chapter concludes with a call to action, inviting you to imagine and articulate positive phrases or verses from any scripture. The journey to self-discovery and empowerment has commenced, and the hidden wisdom awaits your eager embrace. Let's begin.